Mad Sam Destefano was an American gangster who became one of the Chicago outfit's most notorious loan sharks and sociopathic killers. Chicago-based FBI agents such as William F. Romer Jr. considered Destefano to be the worst torture murderer in the history of the United States. The outfit used the mentally unstable and sadistic Destefano for the torture murders of Leo Foreman and Arthur Adler, the murder of Destefano's younger brother, Michael Destefano, and outfit enforcer and fellow loan shark William Action Jackson. However, due to Destefano's deranged mental state, the outfit never let him become a made man. At least one outfit insider eyewitness claimed that Destefano was a devil worshiper. Born in southern Illinois, Destefano moved to Little Italy in Chicago with his family as a teenager. He suffered from malignant narcissism. In 1927, at age 18, Destefano was convicted of rape and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Released in 1930s, Destefano joined the 42 Gang, an infamous Chicago street gang led by future outfit boss, Salvatore Giancana. Destefano soon became involved in bootlegging and gambling. In 1932, he was wounded during a grocery store robbery. In 1934, Destefano was convicted of a bank robbery in New Lisbon, Wisconsin, and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Released in 1944, he returned to prison in 1947 for selling counterfeit sugar ration stamps. While in Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary, Destefano met outfit members Paul Rica and Luis Campagna. Later in 1947, Destefano was released and obtained a civil service job in Chicago as a garbage dump foreman. In 1952, city officials discovered that Destefano had omitted his criminal record from the civil service application. However, they chose not to prosecute him. He also became the uncle of outfit mobsters Rocco Destefano and Samuel Destefano, who was named after Mad Sam. During the early 1950s, Destefano had become a major loan shark operator in Chicago, with his brother Mario Anthony Destefano. With money gained during his days as a bank robber for the 42 Gang in the early 1930s, Mad Sam began investing in real estate. He bought a 24-suite apartment building and used the rent money as legitimate income to pay off local aldermen and other politicians. By the mid-1950s, Destefano's influence extended to city officials, prominent judges, and law enforcement officers. Destefano would brag that there wasn't any case he couldn't fix, and began offering his services accordingly. His fees ranged from $800 for a robbery to $1,500 for an assault. Destefano was also suspected of fixing a first-degree murder case for $20,000. Destefano's arrangements became so routine that corrupt police officers would escort suspects to Destefano's house. After Destefano paid off the cops, the suspects would be put on the juice to Destefano in exchange for his assistance. Destefano's loan shark victims included politicians and lawyers as well as small-time criminals. By the end of the decade, Destefano was charging 20% to 20% a week in interest. Destefano would accept very high-risk customers, such as drug addicts or businessmen who had already defaulted on previous debts. The reason was simple: Destefano enjoyed it when debtors didn't pay on time. He could then bring them to the soundproof torture chamber he built in his basement. Other gangsters said that the sadistic Destefano would actually foam at the mouth while torturing his victims. From time to time, Destefano would also kill those who actually owed him very little, so that those who owed him a lot would hear the word of Destefano's sacrifice, kill, and pay up. One of the reasons that Destefano probably lasted so long in Chicago, despite his behavior being too crazy even for outfit standards, was because he made a fortune for his bosses. He made so much money that for a time Giancana and Accardo gave Destefano some of their own money to put out on the street for loan sharking purposes to make money for them. In 1955, Giancana ordered Destefano and his brother Mario to murder their younger brother Michael Destefano, a mob wannabe and drug addict. On September 27, 1955, the body of Michael was found shot in a car trunk in a West Side neighborhood. When police questioned Destefano, he allegedly began laughing uncontrollably. He was later released due to his political influence and a lack of evidence. By the early 1960s, Destefano was a leading loan shark and narcotics trafficker for the outfit. In 1963, Destefano had a violent argument with real estate agent and rival loan shark Leo Foreman. To finally get Destefano out of his office, Foreman threw Destefano out, and then Foreman went to hiding from Destefano for some time. Later on, Foreman was summoned to Destefano's home after being tricked into believing that Destefano was letting bygones be bygones. Upon his arrival, Foreman was taken to the basement torture chamber and brutalized for hours by Charles Grimaldi, Anthony Spilatro, and brother Mario. When Destefano finally arrived in the basement, he supposedly screamed at Foreman, "I told you I'd get you." Gree got you killed, as he died on November 1963. In another incident, Peter Cappelletti, a collector for Destefano, kept $25,000 from a loan shark victim and fled Chicago. Destefano's men located Cappelletti in Wisconsin and brought him back to Chicago. Destefano chained him to a radiator and tortured him for 3 days. On the last day, Destefano invited Cappelletti's family to Mario's restaurant for a banquet. While the banquet was going on, Cappelletti was secretly being tortured again in the back. Finally, the severely burned Cappelletti was dragged into the dining area. Destefano then made the man's family urinate on him. Following the dinner, the family quickly paid back the money Cappelletti stole from Destefano. In 1965, Destefano was convicted of conspiracy and sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. On February 22, 1972, he was also sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for threatening the life of a witness against him. The witness was mobster-turned-informant Grimaldi, who was an accomplice in the Foreman murder. Destefano threatened him in the elevator of the Chicago Dirksen Federal Building. Destefano would soon be indicted in the Foreman murder, along with the rest of his crew. As in his previous trials, Destefano had raised an undue amount of public interest with his bizarre behavior. In earlier court appearances, he demanded to represent himself, appeared in court dressed in pajamas, shouted through bullhorns to address courtrooms, rambled incoherently. Now, the outfit bosses were worried about Destefano, that he would not only sabotage his high-profile court case, but would also jeopardize the case against his own outfit crew. So, in a secret meeting with outfit bosses, Destefano's crew got the okay to whack Mad Sam. On April 14, 1973, at the start of a meeting with his crew, Destefano was shot twice with a shotgun in the garage of his Northwest Side home, hitting Destefano with 1 round in the heart and 1 round ripping off one arm at the elbow, fatally wounding him. Brother Mario was then convicted of complicity in Foreman's murder and received 20 to 40 years in prison. Spilatro was acquitted. Although Mario and Spilatro were suspects in Sam's murder, no one was ever charged.